Hello, and it's Thursday again. I'm Marty, and we've reached the last week of the first quarter. Time's really flying by, and we're having a blast talking about operations each week with you. Keep those questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming in. We have a lot of fun putting each episode together with you. So today I'd like to talk about some of those questions and topics here at Warehouse and Operations as a Career. One of the questions I really enjoyed looking into was about the series of equipment commonly referred to as stackers. At least they're kind of called stackers around here. The question was, what are they? Stackers typically are used in the narrow aisle situations, short-aisled warehouses where the need for heavy productivity or product movement isn't really all that necessary. Think of something like a walkie jack that can raise a pallet to the third or even the fourth level of your storage system or racking. Now these devices or machines, they're very maneuverable in tight spaces or on uneven surfaces. They're great for the smaller operations. I was looking them up, and there's several manufacturers and many different models. Some of them are really cool machines. I've seen several different types with different weight capacity. Some even use counterbalance weights, and I've seen some with different outrigger configurations for different pallet types and different types of loads. Now, due to them being a walkie, a 29 CFR 1910.178 certification or training is not required, but I really suggest them. I strongly urge employees and employers to attend or require a class if you're using any style of powered equipment to move freight. I feel the same hazards really exist. Our feet, ankles, and hands can be injured, and of course one needs to be aware of our surroundings, our stack height, load distribution, especially on ramps or uneven surfaces. I've seen too many fingers or hands get pinched up against uprights, when we're turning, or ankle injuries and feet getting pinned up against that bottom rail. Of course, any good safety program and a strong safety culture can help keep us aware and really on our toes. Stackers are great machines, and their use is pretty versatile. I like them for the environments, that they can perform well in. Tell you what I'll try to do. I'll reach out to a stacker representative and see if we can't hear from the experts about, what they're doing with them, where they're selling them, what industries really utilize them well, and learn all about the advantages and uses that they have. Last week we spoke a little about safety culture. One of the examples I spoke to was speaking up if you notice a step that's been skipped or something that's written in your procedures or process that's maybe not really being followed or done. A young gentleman stated that he's pretty uncomfortable pointing out when his team startup meeting is skipped or, their stretches aren't done each evening. There's always going to be that exception. Something's going to come up or a real heavy shift or our supervisor gets tied up in a meeting, etc. The important thing to remember is our procedures and processes are written. That's what makes them so important. If we say we're doing something, it's important that we do them and document them. If an inspector or an auditor does come in, that's what they're looking for. What we say we're doing versus what we have documentation for. I really love this train of thought. What a great way to get noticed by our management team. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking charge and giving them a piece of paper, even if it's just something like, today we talked about being careful on the equipment and lift properly when handling the cases. And you can always do it in such a way that your peers won't think anything about it. Don't be too official or try being the boss, but hey, just start stretching and mentioning to a few people around you to be careful and let's not have any injuries today. Write something like that down on a piece of paper and give it to your boss. He or she then has documented meeting notes. You'll get the star award that day, and more importantly, your boss will be impressed you had his or her back. They may not say so, but I honestly believe they'll be very appreciative. Let's see, here's another comment about productivity. I work for productivity pay. I'm an order selector, and when I even drop my standard by just something like 3 or 4 cases an hour, my money drops for that entire week. Is that how productivity pay works? Because it doesn't seem right. I can understand that, but all activity-based programs have to be very well defined, as that's how we're getting paid. Let's think about it for a minute. If our pay groups are 120 cases an hour to 130 cases an hour pays X number of dollars an hour, and 131 cases an hour to 140 cases an hour pays us X amount, and then 141 cases an hour to 150 cases an hour pays us even more, it's pretty well defined, and it really has to be. Now, things are going to happen. We take a little longer break or lunch, or we're just not feeling 100% one shift, but the program is the program, and I'm sure we all understand when it comes to how we're paid, things have to be regulated and the program followed by us and the company. While we're talking about productivity pay, and there's really all different types, all kinds of measurements and requirements, I'd just like to say it's really important that we understand the program before we sign on. I feel any activity-based program is far better than an hourly structure. I want to be paid for what I can do and what I'm worth, and not necessarily be tied to any constraints by slower, newer, or less productive associates. An important thing to remember about productivity pay is we can control so many factors of our pay. Just by watching our breaks and lunches, or talking in the aisles, or joking around. Being productive when that clock's running, making sure a case is moving at all times, makes us money. My favorite thought is there's 60 seconds to a minute, and 60 minutes in an hour. We can control our pay rate just by figuring out how to reduce our travel time and how many cases we need to select each and every minute. We got to be careful not to make any wasted movements or move even a foot farther with our equipment than absolutely necessary. We spoke with Anthony in episode 19, Warehouse Training Techniques and a Visit from a Professional, and visited with James with our A Few Thoughts and Answers on Order Selection episode. I believe it was our episode 33. They both did a great job explaining how to improve our techniques and capitalize on our productivity. If you missed them, I urge you to go give them a listen. If you have an opportunity to work by the piece or hourly, choose the piece. You'll be richer for it if you want to be. I guess that really makes the difference between them. What do you want to earn? Oh, and I just thought of this. Last week I mentioned a drawing for a WAOC coffee mug. Not sure why I just thought of that. As you know, it's hard for me to stay on subject most of the time. But be sure to send us a comment on safety culture or one of your safety procedures to host at warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. We're going to draw a name and announce the winner next Thursday. Okay, I guess let me find another one here real quick. As I mentioned earlier, we're about to wrap up the first quarter of 2018. How's everybody coming along with those goals? I hope we've all made our plan for the year by now. Remember our fourth quarter 2017, Preparing for a Richer 2018 episode? If you missed that one, check it out. We discussed all we needed was an additional $2.40 an hour at regular time to earn an additional $5,000 this year. A little bit of planning, and that's going to get us there. Over the last few weeks, we've spoken with a couple of individuals that's doing just that. They have their plan, they're measuring their progress, and are committed to achieving those goals. I've spoken with several order selectors that made a conscious effort to eliminate some travel time in those little small gossip sessions in the aisles, and have increased their pay by quite a bit. Oh, and an individual new to our industry that was hired on with a sanitation position. He worked it for about 2 months and has moved into the maintenance department with a nice little increase to boot. And let's not forget Corey also. Corey visited with us a couple of weeks ago as he's realizing one of his goals. He was recently promoted from an unloader position to his shift's lead man. They're all working to surpass their target goal of earning that additional $5,000 this year. I hope we talked about something that helped you today, maybe gave you something to think about anyway. Keep those thoughts and questions coming in, and we'll get around to all of them. And please don't forget about our Facebook and Twitter feeds. We're pretty active there, using the little @ sign, WHSEANDOPS. And you can look at our past episode show notes on the website. warehouse and operationsasAcareer.com. Don't forget to send us an email about your safety culture or safety practice. You could be the winner of that WAOC mug next week. Let's all go and talk up the safety culture at your facility this week and walk a newbie through a safety practice.